And so please help me welcome from California. They call her, her brand on YouTube and Instagram is Final Expense Telesales. She is one of the best final expense telesales trainer in our industry. And so when it comes to phone sales, if you use the phone for any product line, you will love our next presenter. Please help me welcome Dana Neeson.
Hi, Cody. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Good to see you.
This is so fun. I was just invited to do this a couple of days ago, so I don't have a fancy presentation like Roger did. So I'm going to do my best to try to provide you guys with as much value as possible in the time we have today. And kind of a theme that has been in my life right now that I'm sure would resonate with you guys is managing anxiety. There was a study by Chapman University that showed 85% of people get nervous in spontaneous speaking. And I happen to think the other 15% are lying. We could definitely create a situation for them that would create anxiety for those 15% too. Even speaking in front of you guys today has created anxiety for me. Telesales is our version of spontaneous speaking and what probably creates some anxiety for you, right? That makes that phone feel like a 10,000-pound dumbbell. You have a script, of course, but you probably wouldn't be surprised to know that your prospects tend to not follow that script. So it's important for all of us to learn how to manage anxiety. We don't want to get rid of it, but we want to learn how to manage it because anxiety is actually good for us, right? It gives us energy. It helps us focus. It tells us what we're doing is important. But if it's not managed properly, it could actually put you in the hospital. And I laugh about that because not more than 36 hours ago, I found myself in the ER with a panic attack that I could not control. And for 4 hours, my body was uncontrollably shaking. The world was literally spinning, and it felt like my heart was going to explode out of my chest. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is because even though I'm going to teach you ways how to manage anxiety on your sales calls today, I don't want you to think that the people that are speaking to you over this incredible virtual sales event that Cody's put on for you are perfect, because we're not perfect. And we've just done the imperfect things enough times and have proof in the form of success that doing the imperfect things 1,000 times gets you the results of where you want to be. So why do we feel anxious in sales, right? Let's talk about that for a second. When we start making dials, we get someone on the phone, we tend to be anxious because we think about it as like a performance, something we have to get right? Lines that we have to memorize. But unlike memorizing lines for a movie or a performance on stage, and probably even despite any YouTube videos you've seen of mine or anyone else's talking to you today, sales doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, the less perfect that it is, the more relaxed you and your prospect will both feel. And speaking of YouTube, by the way, I would probably encourage you to get off there for a little bit, because we typically run to the internet to find perfect answers for things like how to overcome sales resistance, or how to maintain call control, or how do you close at the end? And you find yourself watching 5 different people feed you 5 different answers that probably creates even more anxiety. And then you have to get it perfect before you even pick up the phone and start making dials and putting in the activity. You might not even realize it, but the questions that I just mentioned that you're running to YouTube to find the answers for, right? How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I maintain call control? How do I close? How do I overcome objections? Who are those questions really about? Someone put it in the chat. Who are those questions really about? They're about you. Exactly. I challenge you to think about how often you search for things like, how do I understand my prospect better? How do I become a better listener? or how to better identify someone's true needs, right? Because who are those questions about? Put the answer in the chat. Who are those questions about? Those questions are about your prospect. So the reality is, you don't have to give the best answer. You don't have to ask the best question. You don't have to have the best response for just tell me the price. You just have to be present, right? The reason we get nervous, by the way, the reason we get nervous is because we focus more on the future consequences of the call, getting the sale or not getting the sale, rather than who we're on the phone with and how we can help them, right? Why do people get nervous public speaking? Why am I nervous at the start of this call? Because I'm more focused on the future consequences. Am I going to mess up? Am I going to provide them value? Rather than just being present and helping you in any way that I possibly can, right? That focus, the focus on the sale, or what we call commission breath sometimes, it removes us from being present and prevents us from really what? It prevents us from what? Really listening. So if the prospect says to you, just tell me the price, right? How many people get someone on the phone and they say, just tell me the price? And responding with the justification to ask health questions in order to give them the price, that actually gets them closer to what they want. But it gets you further away from what they need, right? It gets them closer to what they want by saying, oh, well, of course you want the price. I just need to ask you some health questions because it's based on your age and your health, so that you buy yourself a little bit more time, but you're really just getting closer to what they want, which is them controlling the call, and it gets them further away from what they need, which is to better understand why they're on the phone with you in the first place. Right? A better way to engage back would be to practice what we call paraphrasing or mirroring, and then immediately following that with a question. I understand you're looking for a price. I'm sure affordability is very important to you. I guess, how long have you been looking to put some protection in place for your family? Right? Did you see what I did there? I acknowledged the fact that he asked me a question for a price. I inserted how that price might possibly cause him anxiety, affordability, and then I immediately followed it up with the question to take back the control and to start better understanding who I'm on the phone with. Asking questions to get the prospect to start talking, it automatically starts to make your sales calls feel like a conversation, right? Not a presentation. So paraphrasing what we just talked about, or some people call it mirroring, it's a great, great way to make your prospect feel heard, make them feel understood, and then ending with a question gives you back the control, so you don't have to rush to the direction that they're trying to take you. That's actually a formula or a frame, right? If you want to get technical about it, that you can use immediately today to start elevating the quality of your conversations. There is always more, always. There is always more to the question that you're being asked, and there's always more to the initial answers that you get. Always. This is why reading a script gets us into trouble, because a script mainly provides you with surface level questions that lead to what? What do we get when we ask surface level questions? We get surface level answers, exactly. And if you stay there and you're focused only on your script, then you are missing opportunities to better help your prospect feel the reason why they're on the phone with you, right? The reason why they're on the phone with you is not to get the price. Yes, that's what they asked for, but why are they actually on the phone with you? Someone tell me, why are they actually on the phone with you? Are they on the phone with you just to get a price? To solve a problem? What else? Why else are they on the phone with you? Why did they fill out that form on Facebook? Thank you. To support their family, to protect their family because they have a need, to make sure they aren't a financial burden, right? All of those things is why they're on the phone with you. Not to get a price. The price is the result of what the thing that they're getting will provide for them. Most of us, admittedly, we do a terrible job at listening. And when we don't listen, we don't know how to dig deeper, right? Most of us listen just enough to get the gist of what the prospect is saying before they're even done talking, right? We've already formulated the response in our head before they even finish talking. And often we start interrupting them at the very end because what we want to say is more important than what they're trying to say. I promise you, I have heard hundreds of sales calls. And this might be the most common communication skill that prevents us from helping our clients feel that urgency to change, right? Because I've said this 100 times if you've watched any of my videos online. Sales is nothing more than change. And what do human beings hate more than anything in the world? Someone write it. What do human beings hate more than anything in the world? Change. Exactly. So if our goal is to help clients change their situation, not give them a price, but the one thing that we hate more than anything else in the world is change, that's like a really hard job, right? How do we get them to change when they don't want to change? Well, part of that is practicing your active listening skills so that you can ask better questions to their surface level answers so we can get our clients to feel the urgency to make that change. On the flip side, you can identify that you're not a good active listener if you do the following. You ask a question, you get a response, and you immediately say, gotcha, next question, or makes sense, next question, or okay, next question. If you find yourself in a pattern of asking questions, getting an answer, responding with gotcha, and asking your next question, that is a key sign that you are not listening, right? You are not listening. So we need to slow down and we need to listen. So here's a fun exercise I've played with my team before. And in this exercise, I'm going to SPELLERYTHATISAY. I will translate. I am going to spell everything that I say. Okay, I'm going to spell everything that I say. IAMSOHAPPYTOBEHERETODAY. THANKYOUFORHAVINGME. Somebody tell me what I just spelled. What did I just spell? And if nobody knows, I will do it again. Someone says, I am so happy to be here today. That was the first part. What was the second part? Thank you for having me. Exactly. I said, I am so happy to be here today. Thank you for having me. Now let me ask you a question. What did spelling of the words do for you? What did it change in the way that you were listening to me? Made you listen, made me pay attention, forced you to listen closer, focus, concentrate. Exactly. Absolutely. It forced us to listen. And what did you not have time to do while you were listening to me spell? What did you not have time to do? Exactly. You did not have time to think. You did not have time to think about what you wanted to say. You did not have time to think about what you wanted to say next. You didn't have time to just get the gist of what I was saying so that you could formulate your answer or ask your next question. That is a good exercise, by the way, that you can do with your own team. If you have a morning meeting, you should start by activating those active listening skills, by spelling something, and not something mundane that's really easy to predict. But it's a good exercise to force you to start practicing those active listening skills. We become a better listener by getting out of our own way and reframing the situation, right? In the moment of interacting, we have to listen to understand, not listen to respond, which is what most of us do. And just the simple fact of listening to understand, listening with intent, helps reduce anxiety because now you're in the moment, right? You're not thinking about the future consequences of whether or not you'll get the sale anymore. Your focus is exactly where it should be, on what your prospect is saying, so you can truly be present in order to help. And when you do that, when you truly, truly listen and help people feel their situation, the sale then is just the outcome of the result of being present. Not having the best price, I promise you. I used to sell for another company that had the most expensive price. And I still had a 75% close rate because it's not about having the best price. It's not about having 26 carriers. It's not about being a broker and shopping around for them. It's not what it's about. The people that are on the other end of the phone with you want to be heard. They want to be understood. And they want you to be in the present moment with them, even if it doesn't feel like they do. That is what I have prepared for you guys today. Thank you for having me. You can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Final Expense Telesales. My new agency is called Empower Life Group. And even though we're currently specialized in simplified life insurance, I'm very excited to also get out of my comfort zone, eventually learn other products like Medicare and annuities. You're welcome to reach out to me if you have any questions. Cody, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Dana Neeson.